entrepreneurs are generally comfortable with taking risk. It's a spectrum, some more than others, and it's always calculated risk.
A lot of good opportunities out there, making sure that this is the one that you want to take your swing on.
The federal analogy, you want to make more money, go solve bigger problems, and solve the problems at scale.
You should go work in an industry for 10 years and go become like a real expert. And then the problems will become very obvious.
There is no perfect business out there. Welcome to Money Mavericks, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of finance, investment, and entrepreneurship.
I'm Kirk Drake.
And I'm Darryl Hicks. Together, we're here to bring you the latest insights, expert opinions from the trailblazers who are redefining success in the financial world. Welcome, friends, to another episode of the Money Mavericks podcast. Today, super excited to have my good friend Eli Crow on here. My partner in crime, Kirk, had a last-minute scheduling hiccup and wasn't able to make it today, so listeners are going to have to deal with just me and Eli hanging out, but I'm sure it's going to be a super fun and rich conversation. Eli, stoked to have you here, buddy.
Oh, man, wouldn't want to be anywhere else. It's great.
That's awesome. So, as usual on this podcast, we love to start with some origin stories. They're always kind of messy. They're always kind of interesting. Walk us through, a little bit of, what you've done through your entrepreneurial journey and how you ended up where you are today.
I'm kind of a accidental entrepreneur. I spent 50 years in the education space. I started as a teacher, classroom teacher and coach, and did some administrative work. I never was very good at any of those jobs. I go to this crazy conference in Texas. It was called the Texas Assessment Conference. Literally thousands of educators assemble in Austin every year to talk about giving kids tests. This is the craziest thing. I had this little piece of software that kind of helped manage, what kid, what test, what help. And I tried to get rid of it, Darryl. I literally tried to give it away, tried to sell it, I tried to walk away from it. And I had just given it to too many people. They kept calling me. They want me to help them out with it. And so I got connected to the University of Texas at Tyler. And there was this guy there in sponsored research. And he's like, I got some money that we could put behind this, turn into real software. And then we could license it to EdTech. And because you're on faculty, whatever royalties come into the university, you get half. I'm like, sign me up. And so let's do this. So we did. We got to the point, we built it out, had this agreement with this company that was going to license, and there's a handshake agreement that just fell apart right at the end. And I went to the provost and I said, Dr. White, why don't you just give me the same license that we're going to give to them? Let me go build a business around it. No one knows this space like me. She's like, sure, done. Long story short, I ended up buying the rights back from the university and built it into a couple of different products. Didn't know what I was doing with doing acquisitions, but somehow we acquired this third product. And then we, every year was growing, hiring ahead of growth, trying to bootstrap this thing and really worried about, are we going to make payroll? I literally cashed my retirement out a couple of times and put it back just at the nick of time, just to get through. Finally, it got to the part where I got to have some help. This is crazy. Can't do this anymore. We had about maybe 70 employees at the time. And so started taking some calls, ended up hiring a banker, hired these guys, Leonis, and they just killed it for us. Brought some really good groups to the table and ended up partnering with a group called Sarent, private equity out of Silicon Valley. And yeah, it was great. I took some chips off the table, poured some gas on it, and acquiring another company. So I had a total of 5 products, got to about 165 employees. And then we ran into some challenges. We had a product that we sold like crazy, but we had this churn issue. And it took me a long time, a couple of years of just the turmoil of that to really try to figure out what was happening. By the time I got to figure it, just the timing didn't work out for Sarah, for SVB. We were backed by SVB. And so I ended up splitting the company into 2, buying the IP back from the private equity firm. So I run that full time now, a company called Cardonics. Still on the board of the other one, and I'm still growing that company. And yeah, that's here I am.
Wow. There is so much to unpack in that story. I definitely want to go back and just pull on a couple of sweater strings. But first of all, one thing I want to call out, so common among entrepreneurs and especially the successful ones, that the product that they launched was scratching their own itch. I mean, would you agree that it was your own experience as an educator and in faculty? Like you saw this problem, you built this piece of software, which by the way, did you write the code yourself or did you have, people helping you with that?
Yeah, I'm not super technical. I can sort of look at a query and be like, something I'm not right here, but I couldn't tell you how to fix it. I sort of created the initial structure of the database, but pretty quickly got it to somebody that's much better at that than I am.
Yeah. But this whole theme of like, you are in the seat, you have a problem, and then you're like, there has to be a better way to fix this. And then, the great thing about that is that when you launch the software, at least you have a customer of one,
Right.
yourself, right?
Eat
Which
your
is a
own
lot
dog.
more, yeah, a lot more than what a lot of like, funded companies out of the Bay Area could say, especially back in the days. I think it's getting a little bit better now. But yeah, I just wanted to call that out that, for people that are thinking about starting a business, it's like sometimes you start off in a career that's going off in a very different direction, but it's like you can turn the steering wheel on a car all you want. If it's not moving, turning that wheel is not going to do anything. So just you're out there, you started, you're in a field that you're passionate about, you've got some skills around, and then also you see the problem. So just something I see really, really often. A couple of things that I wanted to pull out though. Again, it seems that entrepreneurs are generally comfortable with taking risk. It's a spectrum, some more than others, and it's always calculated risk. But walk me through like what was the self-talk for Eli and his family when you're emptying out 401ks to pump into a business? Like, how did you handle the stress around that risk? And what was going on in your head as you're making those decisions?
And even before that, leaves this industry, been for 15 years and had this, retirement there. And the retirement in Texas and education is sort of defined benefit plan, defined contribution. So when if you pull it out, you lose a big chunk. And so there was definitely this sort of precipice. I don't know. It felt like you can always come back, let's give it a shot and only live once. And so the opportunity presented itself. It felt like I had to take it. But I really thought, Darryl, that was sort of a common thing. And I guess as I got a little older, I realized that's probably not that common. And
Hmm.
the truth is, entrepreneurship is like, it's tough, man. It is a beast and it is a constant just pit in your stomach that you just have to find a way to be able to work with. And like I read Sastre a lot and talked about the stress that entrepreneurs go through. You can't bring all that home. Like you can bring some of it home, but if you're bringing all that home to your family, good luck. It's
Hmm.
your burden to bear. You got to find a way to make it through. But that said, if you're successful, if you get there, it's the payoff's pretty nice.
Yeah, I think so. There's that old expression, the bigger the why, the easier the how, right? If your child's caught in a burning house, you're not sitting there creating like a 21-page plan on, which door you're going to go in and where which
Risk analysis.
window. And you're just going to go. You're going to
Yeah.
go and you're going to go with everything that you've got, right? What were some of the, and again, I think some people are just born with this risk tolerance or they're just so inspired or lit up and they're thinking, it sounds like for you a little bit like the outcome, hey, if I'm successful, like believing that there's this possibility down there. But where do you think that risk tolerance came from and what was your why that was pushing you through that risk?
Yeah, I definitely sort of joke about my son. He noticed it very early on. Like his brain doesn't seem to produce adrenaline like everybody else's. And, I'm just like cost benefit analysis. Okay. Yes, you probably can make that jump, but what if you don't? So I do think there is a little bit just sort of born with it kind of risk tolerance to some degree. But to the point you made earlier about being in industry, I have a lot of people ask me, I want to start a business. How should I go about it? I'm like, you should go work in an industry for 10 years and go become like a real expert. And then the
Mm.
problems will become very obvious, right? And you will know where you can solve something. And so when I think about the job, it didn't feel risky at the time. Now, when I look back at it, in hindsight, I'm like, why on earth did I do that? Like, it's crazy to think that we would start a business like that. I mean, we had enough money this was like September. I think we had enough cash to get to December. And after that, we just got to, eat what we killed. And so it was just insane that we made it through. But at the time, it's like, this was a real problem that a lot of people had, and it made a real difference in people's lives. It wasn't about building a business to sell. I wasn't even thinking about trying, like, what would happen what if we were successful. When we were successful, it's like, well, let's go solve a problem, a real problem that makes a real difference in people's lives. And then things tend to work out when you're able to do that.
On Money Mavericks, we don't just talk about making money. We explore the innovative strategies and bold decisions that drive real change. Whether you're an experienced investor, a budding entrepreneur, or just someone looking to make smarter financial choices, we've got something for you.
Every week, we're going to sit down with industry leaders, visionaries, and mavericks who share their journeys, challenges, and breakthroughs, from contrarian views on market trends to the secrets behind building a successful startup. You get an inside look at what it takes to thrive in today's economy.
And we promise to keep it real, engaging, and most importantly, actionable. No jargon, no fluff. Just straightforward conversations that you can apply to your own financial journey.
So get ready to challenge your thinking, expand your knowledge, and take control of your financial future. This is Money Mavericks,
where we turn financial dreams into realities and mavericks into legends.
I think that's true. Certainly, that resonates with me when I think about my personal experience. When I have moments of doubt and I'm up against risk, I would think back to, like, does the market need this solution? And I think when you've got that experience, or when you've felt that pain yourself, the pain that you're solving with your product, with your solution, with your service, it's one of the big contributing factors that helps you to push through and say, no, I'm on to something real here. I know that this solves a real problem. I know there's going to be a market here. I know people are going to be willing to pay something for this solution because it's the problem or the pain is so big, right? And it's that old analogy. We want to make more money, go solve bigger problems, and solve the problems at scale.
Yeah, we sell to a lot of human resource directors in K-12 schools. I was sitting down with one the other day, and there's so much stuff going on. There's so much stuff getting thrown at her. It's pulled in all kinds of different directions. And it was interesting that I finally got her to just stop for a second and just sort of set that stuff aside, look at what we were doing. And I saw the body language. It was like her head cocks to the side. She kind of leans over. She's like, "Are you kidding me? This is huge." And I'm like, that's the moment, Darryl. That's the moment when I'm like, we're going to be fine. This is going to work. When you can get this is going to work.
Yeah. Love it. That's awesome. I think there's a lot of value in that lesson there. A couple of other themes that I wanted to pull on a little bit. Acquisitions. So I've done one, maybe two small acquisitions. That's a whole other skill set.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned that, the acquisitions that you made, you didn't really know what you were doing and stuff like that. I'd love you to kind of unpack, like, how you worked through it. And, like, when you made this acquisition, were they cash deals? Were they equity? Was there earn out? Like, or what were some of the lessons or some of the mistakes that happened along the way in your acquisitions, and why as well?
Yeah. So I've done three. So the first one was sort of happenstance. So I tend to have a rule in life. It's like, you just show up. It's amazing what happens if you just show up. And so people, reach out, they want to talk about, the business, want to talk about buying it, being like, well, I'll take a call. I'll listen. Well, got a call from these folks. It was actually a broker, was trying to broker a deal, reach out to us, flew us out to San Francisco, had some conversations. Turned out this is the wrong time for us to sell. too much fun in what we were doing. And so that fell apart. But that same broker called us back and they said, hey, I see what you guys are doing. We've got a smaller company. I mean, they were probably like 20% of our size or something like that, just a few people. But maybe this would work for you guys. So I'll take a call. Let's have a conversation. I don't know anything about doing this, but
Mm.
let's give it a shot. So we'd worked a deal. There was some cash, and then there was going to be a seller's note over a number of years. And we got into due diligence and we found some discrepancies. And they packaged it really well. And they weren't trying to hide anything. There was just some things that sort of had gotten by them and their accountants that all of a sudden made the deal like not as appetizing as it was. So we're able to kind of get creative. And I find every time I've done one of these deals in the due diligence and start getting to close, there's always something, right? And there's this moment when I gotta like just put the attorneys aside, the bankers aside, just call the entrepreneur and be like, here's the way I operate. I feel like I'm just going to put all my cards on the table for you. And I feel like if you can do something close to that, we can probably come to an agreement and try to make it a win-win for both of us. And that's what happened. And entrepreneurs like, this is what I'm trying to do, trying to retire. Okay. Turned out to be a great deal for them because we brought in like a year later. And so, of course, cash free, debt free on the transaction. So they took them out. Those guys got paid quick, which was really cool. And I actually think that transaction made us more pricing for the private equity firms, not because it really added that much to like our ARR, but it just said, you're not going to have to come in and convince me as an entrepreneur. An M&A strategy is a good part of building a business. And I think a lot of particularly tech entrepreneurs have this mindset of like, why would I buy that? I'll pay too much. I can just build it. I mean, I know what it's like to actually really compete against a competitor and take them out of the market. And it's way too much work. If you can just merge it, it's just, it's way better for everybody. And so, flip the script after the PE deal becomes a lot easier because now you've got deal flow coming to you. The PE firms, they tend to want to buy at a certain price point because they need to write certain size checks. Due diligence pretty costly for them. So the smaller tuck-ins they can't do as a portfolio, but they're real additive for your business. And so we were able to do another one with the PE firm. I will say, to your point, they're challenging. They are distracting. There's a lot of work that goes into the post-close that a lot of people sort of forget about. Like that's like starting up a brand new company almost sometimes. And you've got to make sure that the sum of the parts, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right? That this is really going to be additive, that it's not going to become just one more thing on your plate. Warren Buffett talks about the difference between successful people and really successful people is how many times they say no. And there's a lot of good, a lot of good opportunities out there. Making sure that this is the one that you want to take your swing on, I think is a really important piece.
Yeah. So how do you know when it's the right one? I mean, I've got a thesis around this. Like there's enough of an overlap in the Venn diagram. It's strategic. It opens up a new market, or, their customer list is going to be a really good fit for your product. So now you can cross sell into them. There's lots of different reasons why you might want to go and acquire a business. What was your thought process? And like, how did that evolve over time as you're looking at more and more deals and as you're doing more and more of these like tuck-in acquisitions? How did you know that it was going to be a hell yes, as opposed to like you said, the default quite often should be no?
Yeah. I don't know that I made the best decisions around it. I mean, I did see additive opportunity. I did see some synergies that turned out to be right. I mean, I didn't make money. We were making money off of them, but they can be really distracting. And so, when it's like more of exactly what you're doing, kind of a direct competitor that you can just tuck in their customer and convert that tech over pretty quickly, I mean, that makes a ton of sense. If it opens up a new market for you to do the same thing you're doing, it makes a ton of sense. There's plenty of examples in the EdTech space of folks who have You look at some of the big student information system players, and they call it one thing, and they still got like 6 or 7 of these student information systems that are all different. They're trying to manage them all, and they're not doing a good job of really managing any one of them. You got to be careful around that stuff. Like, there's got to be a clear path to this is really about growing what we do well.
Mm. I think that that's a really important lesson. Even just remembering that, even if something sounds really sexy and exciting, hey, acquisitions, we're going to go acquire business, and now we get to add all that revenue, and it's going to show growth, not just through organic growth, growing our own business, but like inorganic growth through these acquisitions and stuff. And it's going to be strategic. But I often hear these stories of the other side. Like, this other business has its own culture, for example, even to something as nuanced as that. Like every family's got different sort of like house rules and the way that their family runs. And you think you can bring two families together. Like, this is one of the challenges with like blended families, where it's like two people get together and they have kids from previous marriages. And like, how does that family even work together? Well, it's the same thing with companies and the culture and the way that they go about doing things. Like, there's a lot of boxes that you need to check on that. And I loved the point that you made around the due diligence as well, which I think is also related to the challenges post acquisition. There is no perfect business out there. This is something that I learned going, and like, I'd have these companies that I'd look up to, and it's like, oh my goodness, they're like doing like in the hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, and they've got hundreds of employees, and they've got this org chart that's absolutely stacked. Like, the opportunity to build a joint venture partnership with this company is going to be so exciting for me. Just think about all the things that I'm going to learn. And then once you're inside the four walls of that business, and you're sitting down in the boardrooms, and you're listening to the conversations of the executive leadership team, sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, there is a lot of really cool stuff going on here, and I can see a little bit more about how they got successful, but it's a hot mess. Like there's like problems all over the place. The analogy of like, once you get a tour inside the sausage factory, it can kind of like turn your stomach a little bit.
Right.
And I think that every business is like that. And so as you're going through due diligence, right, whether it's for an acquisition or even with private equity, just knowing that you don't have to be scared about the things that are broken inside of your business if you're a founder or CEO, because you know what? Everyone's got those problems, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Money Mavericks. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to share this episode with someone who needs to hear it.
Stay connected with us on social media and visit our website for exclusive resources, episode transcripts, and more.
Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries, making smart moves, and turning your financial dreams into realities.
You've been listening to Money Mavericks, where Mavericks become legends.